Salutations, good listeners, and welcome to another episode of the Soundproof podcast, the only Soundproof podcast. And as usual, my name is Brendan. I go by Mr. BDog46 on the internet, and I am joined by Jake Muller, who of course goes by Major Bowman on the internet. Admiral Bowman, if you're friends with him on League of Legends, but everywhere else, the good Major is here. Jake, we're back here with episode 24 here this week.
I got a promotion.
Is Admiral a promotion or a demotion? I don't actually know.
I actually think they're like the same rank.
Oh, okay.
I was curious one day. No, it was.
Okay.
I went to make my account on League whenever 10 years ago, whenever I first made it, and Major was taken, so I just picked some other random rank I could think of in the military.
I like to think that you were afraid of giving yourself a promotion or a demotion that was unwarranted, so you made sure to seek out something that was like a diagonal move or a lateral move. But anyway, we're here with episode 24.
That's correct.
So, of course, we will be going through our .24 Pokemon, and we do have results from the only VGC tournament to happen, the only notable one. I know there are a couple ladder tours going on right now, but those are kind of hard to track results for, and you could question the results of just spamming best of one. So the women's tour, of course, is the tournament that did happen 2 weekends ago. It is Series 6, which, surprise, is not a relevant format anymore.
Thank God.
So we will talk about the results, in the context of the Season 6 tournament, and then certainly with an eye towards Series 5 and whether or not there's anything in that tournament that we can kind of look towards as we go back to Series 5 to get ready for Players' Cup 2. And of course, we'll have the ladder as always. And of course, we did have to kind of filter the ladder results subjectively a little bit. So the ladder is maybe fake news according to some this week, but basically we wanted to make sure that we were featuring the Series 5 teams that were at the top of the ladder on Babiri this week. So we'll talk about those as well. But without further ado, we will go into the -24 Pokemon starting in the Kanto region as we do every week with Pokemon number 24 and Arbok.
Arbok is purple.
And it doesn't take much. Well, you know what, Jake? Let's move on real quick to 124. Jinx is purple. How do you feel about Jinx?
Jinx is also purple.
Oh, okay. I was kind of hoping you'd go in the other direction because Jinx is a weird Pokemon. I don't like it.
Well, okay, we'll come back to that. Arbok is it's fine. I really don't like snakes at all, and so I'm not the hugest fan of Arbok. Mm-hmm. But it's I don't know. I really love Team Rocket, as I've probably said 100 times by now. Jesse and James are just so funny, and I love them. So I always associate Arbok with Jesse, so it's fine. It's cool. It's whatever.
It stinks in Masters.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's stinky. I feel not super strongly towards Arbok. I remember thinking that when I played through Gen 1, so this is way back in 1999, probably I first played it. I didn't see Arbok a lot. I don't think at all. I don't think you see it that much until you face Agatha. I think she has one. And it looks like the Gen 1 sprite is very imposing, and it looks really cool. And it's one of those Pokemon that's kind of been dumbed, I don't want to say dumbed down, but now you're oh, it's a snake, where
right.
You can use perspective, and some of those Gen 1 sprites are really big and in your face and stuff like that, but now it's just a snake, and it slithers in Gen 8, and it's not as spooky looking as it was in Gen 1, where it's kind of imposing.
Yeah.
So I used to think it was a really cool Pokemon. Now I think it's kind of whatever. 124 is Jinx. Oh,
sure is.
Design-wise, I think, man, they really dove right into it with the kissing Pokemon in Gen 1. They're just we're going to smack Lovely Kiss in there, and Jinx is going to get it, and it's going to put you to sleep, and make of that what you will.
I mean, if their goal is to, make it, scary, or,
I don't know what they were going for. It's definitely off-putting, but was it supposed to be intimidating, or
I don't know.
Maybe it was supposed to be normal looking, and they just totally missed the
mark. They were trying to make a humanoid Pokemon, and they ended up with Jinx. I think my favorite thing about Jinx is they had to recolor it after it kind of looked like it was a parody of Blackface or whatever. So now it's more purple.
Right.
I think that's kind of funny.
Yeah. Jinx is actually a Pokemon that I have used competitively in the past on a Hail team, and I actually sort of did kind of like it in that setting because it does actually do some cool things. Like Lovely Kiss is obviously a unique application. It has
Hmm.
Fake Out and Trick Room, and it can spam Blizzard, and it like has a pretty high special attack. But of note, fun fact: Jinx has the same defense stat as Rattata. It's 30. It's
That's
35.
funny. I actually
35.
lost to a Jinx at Dallas 2019 when I was
Oh,
using Shedinja
2019?
Chansey.
Oh my
Yeah, when in
goodness.
Moon. It was what's his face? Will Monkey. He's using like the Ho-Oh Ogre stuff, and it gets like
Oh,
skill
that's
swap with dry
right. There was
skin.
a Jinx on that team. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I lost to him. That was
I
funny.
totally forgot about that. All right. Well, 224 into the Johto region is Octillery, and I think we might have talked about this as it pertains to Remoraid, but
Yeah.
Octillery was one of those Pokemon that like the original design for it leaked as part of those like mines that we got from those old demo versions of Silver and
Hmm.
Gold. And its original design is way cooler. It like looks like a tank, and it totally makes sense as to the design. And like
Right.
it's like they named the tank version of it and then changed the design, and now we have like this artillery octopus, but it's only an octopus with a big mouth. Like it doesn't have any of like the artillery elements that it used to have.
Yeah, like Remoraid still like slightly resembles a gun
Yeah.
in the sense that it's like long and narrow. But like Octillery looks nothing like a tank or some like artillery
Yeah, not anymore. It
device. Or
it used
yeah,
to have like a helmet,
yeah.
and it
It
looked
looked
like it
really
was
cool.
like it looked like it had wheels. Like it looked like a tank.
Yeah,
Um, but it maintained none of that, and now it's just kind of an afterthought. It does get moody, which is
I was gonna say that.
something to talk about. But I mean,
Everyone's favorite ability.
whatever. 324, a very relevant Pokemon, something that you've probably seen quite a bit over the past couple weeks, and certainly will be seeing in Players Cup 2, is Torkoal.
Torkoal's cool. In every generation of DOU that I've played, there's been like a go-to hard trick room team, and Torkoal is featured heavily on the current iteration of that. So that's what I think of when I think of Torkoal first, but obviously very relevant to the PGC as well.
Yeah, I definitely think of it as a like Lilycole is what is evoked first when I
Yeah.
think of it competitively. Outside of competitively, the thing that I always think about is, have you seen that like video or GIF from the anime where Ash's Torkoal just like jumps in the water and like sinks to the bottom? Oh my god, it's like so funny.
Yeah.
Like it's like one of those inconsistencies in the anime where like they animated it because Torkoal is a turtle but didn't stop to think about that it's like a fire type.
That's really funny.
So it just like jumps in and then it goes. Oh, I'm gonna have to go find it. Okay.
That reminds me
Uh.
of the scene in SpongeBob where they're like sitting around a campfire
Oh yeah,
underwater.
yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
think like someone like dropped a note down and it was all like smudged because obviously ink smudges when it gets
Right,
wet.
right.
SpongeBob's like whoever sent this obviously has no concept of the physical limitations of life underwater, and then throws the note into the fire.
That's
So
exactly
good.
what it's like. Except like the Pokemon anime wasn't self-aware enough to like
Yeah.
realize that. They're just like Torkoal's gonna go for a swim. Okay, 424 is Ambipom. And Ambipom, I'll tell you, has been thoroughly ruined for me by Pyromaniac 720.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I forgot about that.
it's one of those Pokemon that he just like used to slap onto every team, and he was like, I don't know, I don't know. And for the record, Steven and I are good friends. I would say all of this to his face, and have said all of this to his face, so it's fine. As everyone knows, trash talking is fine as long as it's something that you would say to somebody's face.
Right.
So Ambipom, not a good Pokemon competitively. Does a lot of damage with Fake Out, and that's the extent of its niche. And he used
Yeah.
to try and like slap it onto all these teams. And every time we were trying to team build, I was like, okay, we need a Pokemon that does these two things. And to be fair, Ambipom does do a lot of things. It has a lot of moves because it's like some wacky normal type monkey Pokemon, but it doesn't do anything well.
Yeah.
And that's wherein lies the problem.
I kind of like it. It's like it was featured heavily in the Gen 4 anime, and I watched a lot of that arc of the anime, so I kind of liked it. It was a fun little character, but that's about the extent of it. I never like touched it in a competitive setting at all.
Hmm. And don't. I would really strongly recommend that you don't. 524 this week is Roggenrola. Um, And the Gigalith line, I guess, is kind of relevant competitively,
Mm-hmm.
especially for people that played 2017. But Roggenrola and what is it, Boldor,
Boulder,
are
yeah.
Pokemon that I routinely forget exist.
I don't like Rock and Roll. It scares me because it just has that like circle on its face, and I don't know if that's its eye or its like mouth or like a combination. I don't know what's going on there, and it's a little off-putting.
Maybe you're not meant to, Jake. You know
I
too
mean,
much.
maybe I just can't comprehend the enigma that is Rock and Rolla.
It could be it. And we're gonna leave you with that this week. 624 is Poniard, and what I always think about with Poniard is there's this web comic um, from like a bunch of years back, and it's like this Poniard who's like doing things with his trainer, and he's like, they're like chopping wood, and then they're like dicing vegetables to cook, and then the last panel is the trainer is like holding on to the edge of a cliff, and Poniard's standing over the cliff, and he's like staring at his hands.
No.
That's what I always think about with Poniard.
Oh my god.
Oh, so funny. I'm gonna have to go find it. There's so many things I have to find for the culture after we finish recording this. That's
I hate it. Oh god.
Also, Little Cup staple. Little Cup staple.
Yeah. It's been really good in Little Cup for the past few years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's like fine. I like the chess theme, Pawn and Bishop.
Mm-hmm.
There was the trainer in Gen 5, the Georgia, I think was her name in the anime.
Oh, is
the
she
one that
the Dragon Slayer?
yeah, the
Always
one that hated
tries to
Iris.
mess with Iris. Yeah.
Yeah, and she had a
She had a
poniard.
Bisharp.
Yeah, so that was cool. That's about it.
She also had Beartic, which is much better Pokemon for somebody who claims to be a anti-dragon trainer. But
Well, hey, Steel, resist.
yeah, I guess
It's fine.
724 is Decidueye. Which a couple things about Decidueye. First of all, I'm sick of hearing Caleb talk about it, and I wish he would stop. Second of all, Seijun has been laddering with it, and I think he peaked at number 1 on the in-game ladder with it, with his weakness policy Drift Blim.
I've played that on ladder on PS so many times in the last couple days, and I'm sick of it. Please stop using it. It's really annoying. This is a PSA. If you use it, I will dislike you because
everybody knows what it does, though.
Well, yeah, but like you can't. It's hard to stop because like you can't fake it out. You can't rage powder it. This was Series 6, so Togekiss didn't exist, and like I don't like. What do I do? I don't like it.
You lose. That's what you do.
Yeah.
You lose. And the last Pokemon this week, 824, is Blipbug, which I think the line is really cool. I actually like that line a lot. I was actually really disappointed in what it ended up being competitively because I thought there was a lot of potential with it, and Orbeetle and like Gmax Orbeetle look really awesome. But it all begins with Blipbug, and it was kind of one of those Pokemon because I tried to do a blind run through Sword and Shield. Like I tried to minimize spoilers and stuff like that. And when it leaked, I didn't look. So when I ran into Blipbug for the first time, I was like, "This is the wackiest looking thing," but you can tell that it's gonna turn into something cool just because of like what it is. Like it has those big old eyes, like and then it did. It turns into Orbeetle, which is neat Pokemon.
I also did a blind first run. Like I didn't look at spoilers or anything. But I never saw a Blipbug.
Oh.
Like, not once did I see it, and then I saw, like, an Orbeetle later on, and then someone, like, mentioned the word Blipbug, and I was like, oh, what's that? I don't know what that is. It's just something that I happened to miss. And, like, you know how, like, in the beginning of a generation, there are always some Pokemon that you, like, don't remember.
Yeah, you don't know about until,
Yeah, that was Blipbug for me.
Blipbug. Yeah, he's a good one. Good little bug. All right, we're going to jump into the ladder now, and as I don't know, I was going to say alluded to, but I think I was a little bit more straightforward in it. We did curate the teams at the top a little bit to make sure that we were selecting Series 5 teams, and also I think there was one team that only had 4 Pokemon, and also Babiri picked up a ladder account for somebody that was recently playing Metronome battles. So there's like a team of Togekiss, Snorlax, Clefable, and Miltank very high up on the ladder right now, according to Babiri. So we're, again, curating. subjective, a little bit of subjective tint to the ladder this week, but of course we'll still bring you all the best teams. And at number 1 this week is a pretty defensive-looking team of Grimmsnarl, Arcanine, Gyarados, Tyranitar, Amoonguss, and Duraludon.
Yeah, I mean, this looks like it could be a 6 team if you just took the Gyarados off.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and wait, Tyranitar too.
And Tyranitar,
yeah, never mind. I think it looks okay. It kind of looks like it does nothing. Like, that's my main issue with it. A lot of Grimmsnarl teams, I think, have that issue. But I know Grimmsnarl Duraludon's a combo that people like a lot, so...
Yeah, and I think Grimmsnarl Arcanine sees a lot of... is like a pretty common combination as well, just because you can, like, just mitigate so much damage.
That's true, yeah, with Screens and Snarl and whatever else.
And I know defensive teams were definitely kind of gaining steam towards the end of Players' Cup 1 with Roxanne's run, where he was running that like Corviknight team with Gastrodon and Arcanine, and I think he had a Grimmsnarl as well.
He did,
so this kind of seems like more of an updated take on it. It looks pretty cool. I don't think it's something that I would play, just because I don't really like Grimmsnarl, but the other 5 Pokemon are pretty neat looking.
I like Grimmsnarl a lot in 6v6. Like, I've used it a lot in DOU, and I think it's good there, but I think it takes up too much space on a 4v4 team. I think it has... like, because you can throw up screens, like, and then what? You have to make use of those a lot quicker in like, a 4v4 game. I don't know. It's probably fine. And there's other ways to use it, too. Like, Fake Tears Grimmsnarl was a big thing, like, way early on in the format that was popping up at Dallas and stuff, so I think that's cool. And that, I guess with Duraludon, that could be Fake Tears. I could see that.
Yeah, it could be. And I think Spirit Break is also a really good move. I think that's pretty standard on Grimmsnarl now, but that's when you start to run into like a slot crunch, as all pranksters have, where like, do you have to drop a screen? Do you not want to use Thunderwave? But it's cool. It's not a Pokemon that I feel a strong affinity towards, but I totally understand it and hate playing against it. Number 2 on the ladder, kind of a far departure from the first team on the ladder, is a Rain team featuring Politoed, Gallade, Alolan Marowak, Kingdra, Indeedee Female, and an Urshifu, which I presume is the Dark type one, but it is a Rain team, so it could certainly be, yeah, it's the Dark type one. So yeah, pretty offensive Rain team there.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Gallade is not doing it for me here.
I mean, Rain doesn't do it for me either. So
well, yeah, that's another issue. But like, I guess Gallade and DD is kind of cool. You can Trick Room for the Marowak with the Gallade, and you can set up Psychic Terrain for like Zen Headbutts and stuff. So like, I get it. And Gallade, it's like surprisingly bulky too. It has a pretty high special defense, I think.
Gallade was one of those things that I kind of like when Indeedee Hat was really popular, like in week 1 of Series 1, I was like, okay, but what if it's Gallade? But that was kind of like before I realized that Max Knuckle was always going to be base 95, which really takes a lot of the wind out of Gallade's sails, I think, because it would be a really cool Max Pokemon if it had like full power Max Knuckles, I think.
Is Steadfast one of the abilities that blocks Intimidate now? Did it get that treatment?
I don't think so.
Okay. I couldn't remember what they are. It's like Scrappy and Inner Focus, but beyond that, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just those two, isn't it?
Okay. Because I was going to say, if that's the case, maybe then I could see the case for it more. Oh, yeah, Oblivious does. You're right.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
So it's a cool Pokemon.
Yeah.
And it's fun in Masters, Gallade, but that's neither here nor there. The number 3 team on the ladder this week is Wahakoff. I think this team we might have talked about a couple times ago.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't decayed since then. Either that or he's got multiple accounts up there now. But it is a team. It is a team of I can't even think of the name. Lycanroc, the midday one. Tyranitar, Cobalion, Dragapult, Indeedee Female, and Arcanine. And we all know what freaking Lycanroc does.
Is that midday? I forget what the... I know Dusk. Dusk is the no-guard
so it's got to be Dawn. Is midday the orange one? Yeah, so that might be Dawn.
I think Dawn's the orange one.
So
yeah, this is midday. I just didn't remember what the 3
The orange one is Dusk because it's supposed to be based on like the golden hour. So there's midday, midnight, and I think Dusk is the orange.
Oh, midnight. You're right.
Yeah. But yeah, I know on this team it does a lot of like rock slide spamming.
Yeah, and there's obviously like the beat up option with Cobalion.
Right. and then it usually has taunt, I think, on the Lycanroc, and then he is always running like some random like tech attack in the last slot, and it learns like play rough and like all of the elemental fangs and stuff like that.
I know
In
on his
2000,
Gen 8 team he had Fire
yeah, it
Fang
was
Endeavor.
Fang for cart. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to say I saw it play rough at some point.
Huh.
Um, and Starfall did like a decent amount of damage.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does a lot of things. It has a lot of moves. We're going to skip the number 4 team on Mabiri this week on to number 5, which is very standard looking Sun, featuring Togekiss, Torkoal, Tyranitar, Dusclops, Venusaur, and Charizard. I think at this point we pretty much all know what that does.
Yeah, we know. It's
We know.
like
You want
standard
to talk
Sun.
about it? We don't have to talk
Not
about
really.
it. At number 6, or number 5, I guess, for our purposes on the ladder this week is, I believe this is Desu's 6 from his
That
Players'
sounds
Cup
familiar,
team, which is with Terrakion, Dragapult, Incineroar, Rillaboom, Porygon 2, and Primarina. And of course, kind of the noteworthy part of his team, or at least kind of the piece that ended up getting kind of the most hype over his Players' Cup run, is that Terrakion Dragapult lead, where he has the helping hand on Terrakion and also beat up on Dragapult, so he'll just like lead the two of them and make you guess which one he's going to Dynamax.
Yeah. I like that a lot, because like a lot
terrifying.
of time, the Dragapult on like beat up teams is almost always just like a support win, kind of like the ones on cold teams with Surf.
Right.
But this option makes you a lot more scary, because like you said, you can just like if you expect them to like cover the beat up into Terrakion Max, you can just helping hand Max move with Dragapult and probably take a KO.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it does a lot of different things. At number 6 on the ladder this week is a team of Charizard, Clefairy, Rillaboom, Incineroar, Terrakion, Urshifu. They're kind of the same Pokemon. Urshifu and Whimsicott. And I actually like this team a lot. This is kind of like very similar to what I had originally ripped when I was starting to test for Players' Cup 2. So definitely favoring Clefairy stuff quite a bit right now.
It's cool, yeah. Clefairy's been popping up a lot, and it's definitely a good mon. I'm not the hugest fan of Charizard without Sun. And like maybe the Whimsicott has Sunny Day. But I feel like you aren't getting as much out of Charizard if you're not running Sun as you could. Because like Wildfire, that is what I was trying to say, still does a lot of damage. And obviously the secondary effect is the main draw of it. But I feel like if you're using Charizard, it's still going to be really frail. Like it's not a bulky Pokemon. And if you're going to be attacking with it, I think you want to be like going full on, but I think that just might be me.
Yeah, I kind of like it. I think you are kind of forced to invest, like scale back and invest in some of the defenses a little bit, because it hits some nice calcs and like will survive rock type attacks when it's next to Clefairy or within Intimidate and stuff like that. And the thing that I like about it outside of Sun is that I feel like when you're running Sun, like you're inclined to go Life Orb.
Right.
And then you're super frail, and like if you get 3 attacks off with Charizard in your Gigantamax, like you've done well with it and you'll probably win the game. But when you play it outside of Sun, you get the opportunity to do things like run Assault Vest or run Safety Goggles or run Love Berry or run Chardy Berry or something like that. That allows you to like actually play the Pokemon a little bit more and take advantage of the max moves instead of just like clicking really strong Wildfires twice and then dying. So it's definitely like a little like it is functionally way different when you play it without Sun. But I think this team kind of is like attempting to capture the best of both worlds, because I'd be surprised if that wasn't Sunny Day Whimsicott.
Yeah.
Moving on to number 7 for the week is well, it does kind of look like it was inspired by Series 6, but then does have a Togekiss and an Indeedee on it. So it is a team of Dracovish, Whimsicott, Cobalion, Galarian Slowbro, Indeedee, and Whimsicott.
I know
Togekiss, not Whimsicott.
Well, there's Whimsicott. I know this isn't the most unique thing about this team. We can talk about the rest in a second, but I still like tremble whenever I see Dracovish Whimsicott. And like I know it's
scary.
like not that good. Like it's really strong, but there's a lot of things that can at least like scare it away. But it's still like I don't want to play against that. Like just Vicious Rend is stupid.
Yeah, there's also I think arguably scarier is when people like stick Dracovish in the back and they'll like play beat up Whimsicott plus Cobalion in the front and then like Dracovish in the back.
Yeah.
Dragovich and DD in the back is freaking terrifying when you've like expended resources in the early game to try and deal with your opponent's Dynamax, and then they whip out in
Right.
redirection with Dragovich. Like, please.
That's a really good point, yeah.
What do we think this is? Yeah, so those sorts of like super strong hyper offensive options are always things that are really tough to deal with. Luckily, we have
is cool though.
Lord and Savior Rillaboom to deal with it. Yeah, Slumber is neat. I feel like it kind of like its Galarian form would almost be just like significantly better if they just kind of left the stats alone and didn't try to give it like an attack stat.
Yeah.
In Galar. I kind of understand what they were going for with the shell sidearm or whatever it's called, but it would have been cooler if they just like gave it that ability and then left it as a special attacker and way better. Because it's a neat typing. I like it a lot.
Yeah, and shell sidearm is really cool. It's the mechanics are like entirely unique. It's not really a clone of something like Photon Geyser, where it like picks your higher stat. Like shell sidearm picks, or it like does the calc. So it like runs the calc for a special attack, and it runs the calc for a physical attack, and it uses the one that would result in higher damage. So it takes into account their defense and special defense too, which is pretty cool. But I think I agree. I like if they had just given it the same Slowbro stats, I think that would have been a little bit better. But I'm like even so, like expanding force in terrain, I'm sure is really strong, and especially if I think if you have quick, I think if you have quick claw on it, you have like a 40% chance or something of either that or the ability activating.
I feel like at that point you just like wouldn't not run Quick Claw. It's one of those things. It's like where the ability like or it complements the other things that it does so well and like multiplicatively that you may as well.
Right. And I'm pretty sure you can still use that in terrain because it doesn't. It's technically not priority. You just not priority. You just move to the front of the line.
Yeah. That's interesting. Interesting Pokemon. Definitely. So for number 8 for us, I think, am I counting correctly? I keep having to subtract one here. Yeah. Is Good Stuff's .jpg with Rillaboom, Arcanine, Tyranitar, Dragapult, Primarina, which is a great Pokemon, by the way, and Mimikyu.
This is a Primarina stand podcast.
Love Primarina.
We haven't seen Mimikyu in a while. It's like
kind of fell off.
Yeah. Ever since like the Triple Ghost team earlier on.
Yeah, I feel like Yuri's Bisharp killed it. Killed Triple Ghost. Like Triple Ghost is dead now, and Mimikyu like it still does all the things that it's always done. I don't know.
Right. It still said Trick Room. It'll still do some decent damage. Disguise is it's really good ability too. It's a good thing they didn't give Mimikyu stats because if they did, that would have been a little scary.
Busted. Yep. And arguably getting rid of its ability to use Focus Sash was like a necessary nerf as well. That's kind of crazy. All right, at number 9 on the ladder this week, as we skip over a Series 6 team, is a team of Talonflame, so it's at least Series 6 inspired. Primarina, Excadrill, Togekiss, Luxray, that is not a misprint, and Dragapult. Dragapult being the 6th.
That's, I think, I talk about this later on when we're talking to Alyssa, but I think Talonflame is something that could stick around as like a remnant of Series 6. I think it's like Priority Tailwind is obviously really good. It has a lot of cool support tools in its kit, and it still does some pretty strong damage with like Brave Bird and Flare Blitz. And I've seen Overheat and Heat Wave on it too, just as options that don't break Gale Wings. I think I was annoyed that they destroyed Gale Wings in Gen 7 because I didn't really think that was super necessary. But I'm very happy they did now that we have dynamic speeds. Like being able to just come in whenever and hit Tailwind again is just kind of crazy. So I don't particularly mind that anymore.
Or to hit Max Airstream would have made it really good.
Oh yeah,
with dynamic speeds as well. But I think we'd be remiss if we didn't speak a little bit about Luxray.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Which of course is an Intimidator and is just kind of like Pokemon of choice to try and deal with bulky waters, because for whatever reason this individual wanted to, like, it looks like it was kind of an attempt to like roll, condense, intimidate and like Rillaboom kind of, so it doesn't really like do those things as well as like an actual Intimidator or an actual thing that can damage bulky waters, but like it gets access to Superpower, which is a niche. So you can use it to like punch stuff like Tyranitar and do a sizable amount of damage to Incineroar and this kind of thing.
I'd be very surprised if Luxray was like actually consistently performing well.
Yeah,
like it's something that I think people have like been trying to make work ever since
It doesn't have the
it
stats.
existed. Yeah, it just doesn't have stats, which is sad.
It
But
needs to be like faster or bulkier, and
yeah.
instead it's just like kind of sitting in the middle of all of these things. And, uh, give it a dark typing, and then we'll talk. The last team we're going to talk about, I don't know, I guess it's number 10 here, is I believe a carbon copy of Santi's team from the Players' Cup. So this is Dragapult to Urshifu, Rillaboom, Togekiss, Incineroar, and Colossal, of course, being the linchpin of the team there, which we did see win Players' Cup 1, and it's a really scary team.
Yeah, like I think we've talked about Cole enough to like have it established that we love Cole here.
Yeah.
This is cool. I don't remember the 6 on Santi's team, which is probably bad. But I think this is probably pretty similar.
I think this is it.
Is this the 6?
I don't
believe
remember
that.
if he had Incineroar. That's the only thing.
Yeah. Either way, still really good. Still a team that is definitely something to look out for going forward. Cole isn't going anywhere.
Oh, yeah, that's the 6. That's the 6.
Okay. Meteor Beam was such a big buff for it because now Volcalith is actually strong and not based off Ancient Power. And it also got... Did it get Earth Power? Or has it always had Earth Power? I think it's always had Earth
It's always had Earth Power, yeah.
I think so. That's something people are using with it now.
You have to choose between Earth Power and Protect, basically, unless you want to give up a Grass move.
Yeah.
Hint, you don't. I don't think anyway, but what do I know? Alright, so that's where we're at with the ladder this week. That's our top 10. And again, we made sure to pull all the Series 5 teams because Series 6 is dead. It existed exclusively for the glory of the women's tournament, which is what we're going to talk about real quick here now. And they did provide, I believe, all of top cut, so all 19 teams I think they cut to or something like that.
Yeah, it was all X and 2s.
Yeah, but we'll hit on at least the top 8. There's kind of a lot to talk about. Usually when we like go through tournament results, it's like we talk about the top 8 and then there's like, oh, we'll talk about the highlights in the next top 16 teams or whatever, and we talk about like 2 teams, but I would really like to talk about just about every team here, so we'll try and shoot through the highlights quickly and talk a little bit about Series 6. The tournament was won by Fiona, who's using a team of Raichu, Duraludon, Talonflame, Lapras, Urshifu, and Serena. And Jake and I were talking a little bit about this, but this is like kind of similar to what I might have expected like a Series 6 team to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you had told me, here's the criteria for the tournament, that's like maybe 5 out of 6 Pokemon that I would have expected to be like top 10 to 15 in usage, with Raichu being the exception.
Talonflame Lapras is something that a lot of people were talking about when we first started Series 6, so I'm not surprised to see it here. Obviously really good. I think on a team like this, it's usually more offensive Lapras, leaving like Life Orb or Weakness Policy. I don't know exactly what Fiona's using, but probably one of those. And it's cool. I think it's neat. Resonance is probably the best GMAX move. You can maybe make a case for the like Volcalith, Wildfire, whatever clones. But it like setting up Aurora Veil while doing that much damage is criminal, and I don't know. It works a lot for this team because I think everything on this team other than the Raichu can like really benefit from Aurora Veil because they're all like kind of like medium-ish bulky. I guess not Talonflame either, but the rest of them are. And so Aurora Veil just makes them even more impossible to take down. It's cool. I like it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a cool team. I think, and I know we've been playing with this Pokemon quite a bit recently, but I think Serena makes a ton of sense as like a third Pokemon in a Fire, Water, Grass for Talonflame and Lapras there too.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense. At number 2, and I honestly I feel like Sylveon matches up really well against Fiona's team, so I might have to. I didn't get to catch finals, but I might go back and check out that match just because I feel like if you were to show me these 2 teams, that I would favor Alyssa's team over Fiona's. But it is a team featuring Clefairy and Sylveon, which feels like it should be hard for Fiona to break. She must have Dynamax Duraludon all 3 games.
I would imagine.
Talonflame, Hydreigon, Terrakion, and Azumarill, which feels like it should be good in the Series 6 format too.
Yeah, Azumarill is kind of cool. I think it was starting to pick up in Series 5 towards the end too, if I'm not mistaken. But it definitely makes sense here. It's like huge power with max moves is really cool. I don't think Belly Drum is the good set anymore.
I agree.
I don't like I that wasn't me saying my opinion. I was like thinking what people are using. um, but yeah, it's neat. It's super bulky if you're running those max moves with it. It's also something that I think Fiona's team struggles with some, like the triple fairy. She doesn't really have a fairy resist because Talonflame doesn't resist anything.
Yep.
So again, I couldn't watch the finals like Brendan said, but I'm really interested now that I'm thinking about it even more.
And
I don't know how
Duraludon,
Fiona did this.
yeah, Duraludon doesn't resist special attacks either.
Right.
So, yeah, Azumarill's cool. I think one of the coolest things about it is that it got a steel move in the switch-in generations,
Oh
which
yeah.
matters now that Dynamax is applicable. So you like are almost always running Steel Roller as the third attack.
Uh huh.
Yeah, I think it's really neat, and of course it's always had access to Max Knuckle. So if you want to do things like that, you could just use Max Strike. I believe it is one of the Pokemon that it probably lost knockoff, didn't it? It must have.
I think so. I don't
And then
know for
Aqua
sure.
Jet is always a thing. So if you
Yeah.
want to Aqua Jet things, there you go. The number 3 team on the ladder is the one that I think we talked to Alyssa about this a
Yeah.
little bit. Is the team with the Dubwool on it? So it is a team of Dubwool, Dusclops, Arcanine, Primarina, Amoonguss, and Urshifu. So if you close your eyes and don't look at the Dubwool, it's a pretty standard, like kind of what you'd expect Series 6 to look like. And then there's a goat there. So it's a cool Pokemon. I think Alyssa was saying that this was a Dusclops. The Dusclops did not have Trick Room, so
Yeah.
that the only method of speed control on this team was Max Strike from Dubwool, which is hilarious because
Yeah.
like it just can't do that much damage.
Right. Especially because I think double is probably best used for like cotton guard body press stuff.
I think that's what
So,
it is.
I mean, yeah, most likely. But I
Yeah,
wouldn't ever think to Dynamax if you're using that kind of set.
right.
I don't know. It's
Especially with the
neat.
Primarina on your team. None of
Right.
those other Pokemon like to Dynamax that much. I guess it's probably the second best Dynamaxer now that I'm looking at it. There you
Like
go.
maybe your Shifu, but yeah, probably.
Yeah, and then the final top 4 team is a team piloted by
Ugh.
Nemesis that features Klefki, Liepard, Braviary, Hitmontop, Primarina, and Duraludon. I have a hard time coming up with names sometimes, but yeah, that's kind of an interesting combination of Pokemon there.
Like it's double prankster, and it's like the two pranksters that you know are going to give you like a hard time.
Yeah,
Like
you don't know what their move pool
right.
is. Like, yeah,
Like
totally
some
agree.
like pranksters are all annoying in general. Like you see a Thundurus or a Sableye or a what's the other one? I just lost it. Oh my god.
Sableye,
No, I just said that.
Whimsicott.
Yes, thank you. You see those three and you're like, okay, this might be annoying, but like I know what they do. But like Viper and Klefki, what are they doing? Like we've seen Viper some with like the like Hatterene with
Yeah, the
the
copycat TR
right,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah,
But like, there's no trick room on this team, and I would see this team and probably have a panic attack because I
yeah.
just don't want to have to deal with that.
I think one positive thing about it is you can look there and know that one of them doesn't have a focus sash,
True.
which is a little bit reassuring. But yeah, they just have like such a deep move pool, and I would know what it is. That feels like the kind of situation where like Klefki would like confuse Ray or something, and you'd
Right.
be like, okay, very well. All right, we'll finish going through top 8 here. At 5th place, I think I was saying to Jake at some point that this is kind of almost exactly what I would have expected a Series 6 team to look like.
hmm
I know there was a lot of hype around Durant. So this is a team run by Pink Sylvie that featured Rotom Wash, Arcanine, Braviary, Hydreigon, Amoonguss, and Durant.
Durant is something that I think a lot of people were hyping up for Series 6 when we first saw it, like specifically Goth Durant. And I want to say there's no Goth Durant in
I don't think
Cut.
there
Okay, I'm
is.
right.
There are Durant, but
Um,
not Goth Durant.
yeah, just no Gothitelle.
Mm.
There's no Gothitelle in Cut at all. That's weird.
It's always
Anyway,
been kind of a niche Pokemon.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. Um, but yeah, Durant is still cool. It's gotten no less strong than it has been in the past. No Incineroar means that Arcanine's the only like fire intimidate, and you can just kind of donk that with either rock or ground max move. So
Mm-hmm.
it's cool. I'm not surprised to see it do well. There's another one in top 8 as well, and a couple others in the rest of cut.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense as to why that would be good. And the supporting cast is definitely no surprise either.
Yeah.
A lot of things you'd expect to see there. At number 6, Pretty all Pokemon you'd kind of expect to see, I would say. With Chandelure, Milotic, Talonflame is there, Hydreigon, Kinkeldurr, and then Toxtricity, which I think that was another one of the Pokemon that people were kind of like, okay, yeah, we'll sort of probably see this uptick in usage, particularly in response to stuff like Primarina and
Yeah.
Sylveon being good. But the other thing about Toxtricity is it loses its like only natural prey, which is it's a big Rillaboom check.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
but strong Pokemon, yeah.
Toxtricity's cool though. I think I've always been disappointed that it's like not been very good because I think it's cool in design. I think it
It
has
just it just
like
does less
Overdrive's a really cool
damage.
move.
Yeah.
Stun Shock is a really cool Gmax move. Um, yeah, it doesn't
It
really
just
catch on too well,
it
which
just
is
it just does less damage than you think it will, like every single
yeah.
time it attacks. Is
Hmm.
I'm just like, okay, I remember I built a team at some point when those like Lapras Dracovish teams were really popular,
Yep.
which incidentally is at the eighth place team. I was like, okay, what if I did that with the same concept where like my goal is to set up electric terrain for uh, Toxtricity in the early
Toxtricity.
game.
Yeah.
And I was just like spamming like Life Orb, Electric Terrain, boosted, uh, freaking overdrives,
Overdrive. Yeah.
and just like missing KOs on stuff that I really thought like I'm like 3 hit KOing some Lapras through Veil, and like it's just like what the heck, like why do I even bother?
Yeah.
So it's just like never as good as I think it's gonna be, which
Yeah.
is a bummer because it's kind of a cool Pokemon.
I feel the same way about Chandelure, like
Yeah,
historically.
I think
It's
Chandelure at least has like it does stuff other than like click attacks. Like Toxtricity was designed to click attacks and it doesn't
right.
do it well.
But I feel like every time I've tried to use Chandelure, I just like it doesn't do quite as much as I need it to.
Hmm.
Whether it be like surviving stuff or like offensively or whatever.
Yeah.
And its typing is like good in some ways, but also just terrible in others because it has a lot of kind of common weaknesses like rock, water, dark, ground, ghost. That's like not types that you want to be super weak to.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. At seventh place is Kiki. Is that the same Kiki that's also hosting her invitational? I think it must be,
Oh,
right?
maybe. Yeah.
Her invitational is what, this weekend or next weekend? It's got to be this weekend if Players Cup is
Yeah.
coming up, or maybe it's in October. I don't know. Her invitation is coming up. I know she just released the pools for it and everything, so that'll be fun to follow. I know, kind of like the women's tournament. I know there were some people that were thinking of hosting stuff or like doing streams or stuff like that over the weekend that they specifically pushed off to give the window to Kiki's tournament. So that's gonna be
Yeah.
really cool. But she apparently top cut and was running a team of Chandelure, Dracovish, Talonflame, a lot of hyper offense,
Yeah.
Toxtricity, Durant, and Urshifu.
It's
So
like all
that
hyper offense.
just gonna come at you, and then there's
Yeah.
like an imprisoned TR Chandelure, I'm sure.
I feel like this is a team that always leads Talonflame plus X and clicks Tailwind and does a lot of
And you
damage
and you
immediately.
cry and
Yeah.
you cry. Yeah, that's scary. Those are the types of teams that I don't really like to play against. There's this
Yeah.
one local that we used to have. I've probably talked about it on this podcast before, but he was just like, oh, it was, it must have been during, it must have been 18 because he had a whole bunch of Ultra Beasts, and he at one point was running Ghostium, Blacephalon, and Buginium, uh, Pheromosa, and he would just lead
Oh.
them, and then you would have to like figure out like what he was gonna target and like how to.
Ew.
It's just like the scariest stuff to play against those types of teams.
Yeah. That's
Anyway, the
gross.
final team piloted by Yoko is Lapras Dracovish, in addition to Dusclops, Ferrothorn, Sylveon, and Terrakion. So that's very, very much something that I would have expected to see in the flip to this format.
Yeah. This
And
is like very Series 6.
yeah, and that's like they're like elements of that team will definitely carry into Series 5. I know I think it was Kutesh that pioneered the Life Orb Lapras plus Dracovish stuff,
Mm.
where he was like topping ladder with it. So that's a pretty potent combination, and it's very difficult to stop because the flowchart for that is straightforward, and you have to like really play around it,
Yeah.
because Dracovish will just ruin your day. Um, all right, so that's the top 8, and of course we'll kind of run through some of the things that we like or want to talk about from top 16. And the first thing that I want to talk about is the 11th place team, which is the Riolu Hatterene team. So that's actually coaching Bullet Punch Riolu.
Yeah.
And
Is the weakness
And
policy
its
on
weakness weak
Hatterene?
yeah, its weakness policy
Okay.
hat. Yep. So there's like a whole bunch of different like modes where you could go like Dynamax Max Guard into Copycat Trick Room, and then like
Oh yeah.
Bullet Punch Hatterene the next turn. Um, uh, Aaron Trailer was playing games in the Scramble with this team, and I saw him coaching Explosion a couple times with Gigalith, which is just like, Riolu, no!
That's
But
funny.
also like watching Dracovish or Dracozolt get coached has to be like absolutely terrifying because they already do a
They're
million
both
damage.
there.
Yeah.
That's funny. I didn't even
Yeah.
notice that at first.
So yeah, that team is really cool.
The team at 9 is cool. I was saying at the beginning of Series 6 that Sun was going to be good with Ninetales Zard. And I was like, oh, I'm going to build the Sun team and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't. I just, obviously I didn't because I didn't get around to it. But I'm glad to see that I was at least somewhat right.
Yeah, I mean it was going to be good in some capacity, definitely,
Yeah.
but that's definitely a pretty cool take on it. What was the other one that I wanted to talk about? Oh, the 18th place team is one of those teams that we're actually getting quite a bit of buzz, so I'm kind of surprised to not have seen more of this. Oh, there's one at 13 as well. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought I had seen one, but there was a lot of talk about the core of Weavile or Dracloak.
I've seen
Alongside,
Sneasel too.
yeah, Sneasel, because of inner focus, but
Yeah.
Dracloak kind of I think does that better, but without fake out.
Yeah.
Weavile, Cobalion, and
Colossal.
Colossal.
Yeah.
With Weavile running both Surf and Beat Up, so you have the
Yep.
opportunity to lead either Colossal or Cobalion and have like really strong offensive modes. The 18th place team that was piloted by Emily also has the Comfey Gudra option as well. So there's like a whole bunch of like power duos.
Where's the
That
weakness policy though? Because if you're comfy Gudra, you just want to run. We would run the policy on Gudra, but you
I
can't
think
with
you use your
Cole.
Sap Sipper Gudra and you Giga Drain it.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It's also got the Gastrodon too. It gives you another surf target for Weavile, which is kind of funny.
Oh, that's true. I hadn't
And
even thought
Gastrodon
about
Cole
that.
obviously has pretty good
It's a good,
synergy.
yeah, good synergy there as
Yeah.
well. Yeah. And I think the last team I'm going to touch on is the Rain team that's sitting at 17 there, because I know there was a lot of talk about how Rain was going to get much better in the flip to Series 6. Wasn't really finding
And
its mark in Series 5 because of Rillaboom and things like that, but it did find its way into Top Cut in this tournament.
Rain just gets like completely stifled by both Primarina and Lapras. So
Yeah, well,
like those being
by any number of bulky waters, including like Azumarill, like we talked about, and
yeah,
then
Azu too.
Rillaboom is just absolutely awful for it as well.
Well, I get like Rillaboom's not in this format, so
Oh, that's
that's
true.
not a huge deal. But yeah, I mean you're right. Like any even just like Talonflame plus attacker that's faster than Kingdra is
Right.
an issue too.
I
So
think Rotom's
there's
in
like
this format as well, so Rotom will stifle
yeah,
it.
it is.
Amoonguss, Gudra, apparently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just tough for Rain. Like if you can find the right like situation for it, if like you've got Kingdra Politoed in against things that like are going to be underspeeding it, then you can get it still does a lot of damage. But I
Yeah.
just think it doesn't really live up to some of the other stuff that Series 6 has.
No, I totally agree. It's not. I mean, and I like Rain too. It's
Yeah.
just like if you were actually trying to seek out, and you can find situations to make it good, and it kind of rewards strong hyper offensive play as well, or strong offensive play, so to speak. It's just like if you were analyzing the format top to bottom, I feel like you would very quickly find yourself moving away from Rain. Is all I'm saying.
Definitely.
All right, so this is the one Series 6 tournament. It will live on in history because we are now immediately going back to Series 5 again for Players Cup 2. But a lot of these teams, I think we were able to talk about a little bit, do kind of have elements of them that you'll find probably successful in certain Series 5 teams as well. You're probably going to want to make sure you get your Incineroar and your Rillaboom and your Togekiss back in there if you want to use some of the concepts, but like there are Pokemon that can definitely work there. I think Jake was talking about Talonflame. Obviously, Urshifu is going to make its way over there. Dracovish
Yeah.
Lapras. And then, we always see Arcanine, Rotom Wash, Milotic, things like that. So, and again, I have to remember I need to go watch finals because I'm really interested as to what happened there. But yeah, that was a really cool tournament, and of course we are having Alyssa Smith on this week. I'm not sure if we actually said that. I think
maybe not. We alluded to it.
Yeah, we alluded to it. But Alyssa Smith, the TO for the women's tournament, is our guest this week. So I'm going to stop talking about the women's tournament because we are going to speak to Alyssa at length about it. So we're going to take a short break for just a few seconds. You can listen to some music, and then we'll be back with Alyssa for the second half of our show. So stay tuned. Hey trainers, and welcome back to part 2 of our Soundproof episode this week, which is of course episode 24. And at this point we are now joined by our guest for the week, who is Alyssa Smith, the tournament organizer and of course a player in her own right, but a tournament organizer for the women's VGC tournament that took place, I believe, 2 weekends ago. Time all blends together these days. But Alyssa, welcome to our show.
Hi, thanks for having me. Super excited to be
awesome.
here.
So obviously the women's tournament, it was 2 weekends ago, right? I just want to make sure that I'm at least like in the same month here.
Yeah, it was September 5th.
September 5th.
I know, it was the Saturday.
Okay. So it was okay.
Yeah.
So 2 weekends ago. Okay, good. Oh my god, I feel so much better. So it was a tournament. Just to give a little background of what happened, was a VGC tournament that Alyssa was the lead tournament organizer of. That consisted of only women entrants, which is an unprecedented event in the VGC community. It was really exciting. I know I was following along with the streams all weekend, and it got an awesome reception, I think, from the community for the most part. We won't talk about the couple bad eggs that are always present, but it was a really cool event, and again, the first tournament of its kind. So we with our efforts to try and broadcast some of the voices in the VGC community, wanted to make sure that we covered this event. So thanks again for joining us, Alyssa. So some of the questions that we wanted to talk to you about are, first of all, like, what went into, like, why did you feel like this was an event that you wanted to go forward with? Why did you set out to organize this tournament?
So throughout the summer, I kind of heard of people coming up with the idea of a women's tournament. Like, I didn't come up with the idea, like, myself, in hosting it. I think Maeve posted something about interest for it, like, in the beginning of the summer, but that just never ended up happening. And then I was definitely interested in, like, playing in one. Like, some people had kind of mentioned it, and I was like, that'd be really cool. But it just never happened. So, Mystic posted, like, a graphic of it. She's like, this isn't real, but like, this would be really cool. And I was like, you know what, let's make it actually real. And I was like, I wanted to get it to happen, because I'd been waiting for it all summer. So, and it had a lot of positive feedback as well, so I knew that the community, I knew it wasn't going to be really bad, like, backlash for just wanting to host this kind of tournament.
Yeah, I think the kind of person that would
especially
get onto you for hosting a tournament like this isn't really someone that we want to be appeasing anyway, so it's probably a good thing.
Yeah,
definitely agree. So when you what went into you eventually, like, taking the reins for the tournament? Like, how did you go from somebody that was interested in playing in it to actually becoming the tournament organizer?
Well, I messaged Mystic about it, because I was kind of interested in terms of, like, I want to potentially run this thing, or kind of be like a co-TO in a way. But because I know that for an event maybe potentially this big, like, I couldn't really run it completely myself. I've hosted a couple of other online tournaments in the past, just for, like, some smaller, like, Chicago kind of area events, since quarantine has been a thing. So I've definitely run some online tournaments before, but I knew I needed another person to kind of help, at least with the basics, and kind of confirm some things. So I reached out to Mystic, and then Stacy, Average Joe, was also interested. So we kind of, three as a team, kind of came up with some of the basics and everything. Mystic wanted to play, for sure. And Stacy wanted to be like a TO as well before like the day of and like helping players out with everything. So I ended up kind of running a lot of the server, and then along with just getting out a lot of information and such for all of this. And it ended up really, we had a lot of support. I really couldn't have done it without a lot of people signal boosting this, which was really, really awesome. So that was for sure really great. I had a lot of support in terms of like people reaching out for to offer help as well. So I had a lot of people just to back and forth ideas and confirmations on some things and how we want to run it and everything like that.
Yeah, I noticed that there were a lot of people talking about it in the lead up to it and even on the day of, like talking about it even in private spaces, like, oh, this is a cool event that's going on. People were like interested in watching the stream and rooting on their friends that were playing. And so, I think, aside from the social aspect of it, I think even like tournaments in general right now are kind of few and far between. So I think people are really excited to participate in whatever way they can. Obviously, for the people that could play in the tournament, they got a chance to like play Series 6 and get some games in. But for the people that, like me and Brendan, the men who weren't in the tournament but still like watching it, I personally thought it was really fun. I watched some of the stream. I thought it went pretty well. And I just think it was a really cool thing that you guys put together. So in doing all of this, obviously we've talked a little bit about some of the logistics, but what was some of your overall goals for the tournament? Because like you don't really hold a tournament like this without some underlying like cause in mind, I think, especially in a time like this.
Yeah, for sure. I know there is a lot of like women who came out with like some stories and such over just because of quarantine and a lot of things have potentially been just kind of coming out. And for me personally, I've actually never really experienced anything bad in an event for me, but I know a lot of women who have. So I really wanted to create a welcoming space for women in the community because I know there's not a lot of women at tournaments. We're like 10%. Every single regional major I've been to, I try and count to see, and we're like 10% all the time. So I really wanted to just have a tournament for women who like just have like a welcome safe space to play, who there would be as minimal barriers as possible to really get them to play Pokemon. And also really kind of highlight women as well. Like not in the way of like, oh, we don't need men to, do well, but kind of be like, these are the women who are really, really good at this game, and, anyone can really play and be awesome at this game as well. Like, we had a ton of new players make top cut. It was really cool. We had, I think, 3 of our top 4 basically was one of their first tournaments. Awesome. Basically, like,
yeah.
In all reality, it was really cool. So, it's just really nice to have just so many new players really come in and find a really safe space for them to exist in and just play Pokemon.
Yeah, I think that was one of my favorite things about it, was to see all the new players, because I think that's kind of like, one of the coolest stories that, as a commentator I've had the opportunity to follow, are those folks that like step into their first or second tournament, be it a regional, in normal times or something like that, and make a run into top cut or something like that. And I think it's so cool that we, gave a platform for all these women to step into a game in a space, that was provided, because, they might not have even stepped into the VGC realm at all if not for this tournament. And because the space was provided for them, we got the opportunity to watch some of those top cut runs and players really come into their own a little bit. So that was really exciting for me. I definitely agree with you. So with that vision in mind, what kind of things did you kind of like have on your list, or did you set out to do when you were organizing the tournament?
One of the things that we really wanted to do was to create a Discord of kind of like a safe space Discord. It took a bit of running through the first couple of days when we made it public in terms of exactly what we wanted from it. But we ended up doing a space where it's public to everyone. Of course, we do have to make sure you're all respectful and everything, and the Discord is like a lot of other ones. But we have a like designated kind of safe space specifically for women and women identifying, to really feel safe, just to know that, hey, these, like, they feel safe in, like, their own community. And it's really cool because you have a lot of just people in the server, everyone being supportive, and then in the safe space, it's really nice that no one's hesitant to ask a question, to, like, be worried that because they're a new player, they'll get shot down. We wanted to make a space where people felt welcome to begin in VGC, and it's been really amazing to watch a lot of the players feel so welcome. And, like, I didn't even know there were so many women in VGC myself. Like, there were some more Chicago players, and I was like, I've never really seen you at tournaments. This is insane. Or I've seen them only a couple of times. And there's more in, like, Australia. Like, I didn't know there was so many in Australia. I talk with, like, a lot of Australian friends, and there's never that many players there. Like, Minnesota had a lot, too, and just all over the world, it's been really cool, just everyone coming together to just be able to play and meet each other. So, kind of moving forward the Discord as well, I really want to create even more safe spaces. Like, just this is a place to exist for RL events too, like in real life, and so people know, hey, I can go with a group of people, and I know these people before going to a big major, so that maybe we'll have more women at tournaments because they aren't really worried about going alone or kind of being the only woman there.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's something I was going to bring up, is that, you know, I think this is a really good way to, you know, get more women and people who women identifying people, as you said, just interested in, like, knowing that they can come and, like, play this game that we all love in this new way that they may not have experienced before, and, you know, not feel like they are being judged, or not feel like they have to, you know, live up to certain expectations, or, you know, do whatever else people might put on them. Like, this is just a space for you to come, exist, enjoy yourself, play VGC, meet people, etc. So I think that's really cool, and I like that you made that happen. Do you think this is something that you could replicate, you know, once we get back to, like, an actual circuit, like actual tournaments in person? Do you think this is something that, you know, might help people start coming to tournaments in person, or do you think this is mostly just an online thing?
So do you mean, like, having a women's tournament in person, or, like, the effects of the tournament?
Mostly
online?
The effects, yeah. Sorry, I rephrased that badly. I know having just an all-women tournament in person might be a little difficult. But, you know, do you think something like this could encourage more people to come to in-person tournaments?
Yeah, I think for sure it'll encourage some more people. I'm hoping that we'll be able to set up some parts of the Discord where we can, like, make it specifically for some events. Like, I don't know, for Collinsville Regionals, like, everyone who's thinking of going to Collinsville Regional, you can, there's this channel for you where we can all see, who wants to go, who's interested, so that we can be even, like, a group there and just have some friends there that you already know, rather than having to go with maybe someone else, relying on someone else to go with you, and just to also maybe to some locals too, being able to maybe carpool or of some sort if there's enough people in your area. And I think it'll also make people more confident in playing as well, because it's their first step in a VGC. And in terms of how awesome the community really has been for this, I think it'll help people just, like I said, be more confident in going to tournaments in real life in terms of their own playing, rather than always being worried about being judged as a new player, and also not being as worried about being judged, like, as a woman as well.
So, a question that I have is kind of like, I don't want to say the exact opposite to Jake's question, but do you feel like the tournament also had a positive impact on perhaps the way that that men perceive the women in the community, and that we should hope or expect that maybe there will be a little bit of a change in behavior because of increased amount of awareness?
I'd like to believe.
Yeah,
I'd like to believe that, because there's been so much positivity. Like I said, I have actually never really personally seen or experienced it myself, which is, in my opinion, very surprising for me. Like, I'm like, how has I've been playing for 8 years.
Wow.
So, yeah, I've since, yeah, a long time. Too long. So, the fact that I've never really, at least personally, think that I've experienced it, is kind of odd to me, but, hopefully people will be on the lookout more, will understand that the behavior that women have faced and had to deal with, like,
right.
isn't acceptable. With so much support from the tournament, that, like, what was really cool, we had over 3,000 different people watch our stream the weekend. We only had to ban one person for saying some not so great comments, and it was really cool that it was only one person.
Those are great numbers. I think.
Yeah.
I would have expected like between 20 and 50 if you had asked me, given the viewership. So hopefully that's a positive step. I think, like you said, we'd like to believe that it's a positive step. So
Sure.
after the tournament was over and everything was kind of wrapped up and everything like that, do you feel like the goals that you set out to accomplish with the tournament were met? How did the tournament run actually compare to your expectations? And do you feel like you did what you set out to do with it?
I feel it went extremely well, and it did really happen. It did really come out with outcomes that I was hoping for it to. Like, I had a lot of people were just so happy with it. A lot of women were so grateful that they were able to play in, like, a really great space, and a lot of them said they had a very genuinely great time, which was really great. And I know a lot of people in, like, the stream chat as well had a lot of fun, and it was just a lot of positivity. I know that we've had, like, 2020's just been a bad year, and there's been a lot of, more than a bad year, but it's been a lot of negativity in the air, and especially since we've really not been able to hang out with friends, release that stress playing Pokemon and just kind of doing what we normally do. It was really, really great to see the community be so absolutely positive this weekend, or last weekend, not this weekend. Or
whatever it was.
The weekend, my bad.
Yeah,
too far. Yeah, time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it really is. So it was just, I was really cool. Like, stream chat, like, just carrots apparently happened, like, of some sort. The tournament chat in Discord, and then the stream chat in Discord, or in the stream, started talking about carrots of some sort. And I was kind of like watching that on the sidelines. I was like, I don't really know what that is, but I'm just here running this. So it was really cool. Just everyone kind of came together and just had a fun time in the tournament.
Sometimes you just need to talk about produce. I understand that.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, like, as someone that didn't participate in the tournament directly, like, even I experienced some of it, because there were so many people just talking about it, whether it be like talking about watching it on stream, or like talking about how their friends were doing, or like me talking to people that were playing and asking them how they were doing and everything. Like, you could tell that it was a big event for the community, and like everyone knew it was happening, everyone was excited for it, and everyone was talking about it. And I think that's something that we haven't really had for like a big online tournament in a while. Like, obviously everyone knew Players Cup was happening, everyone knew something like Champions Tour was happening, Champions Cup, whatever the Wolf and A-Drive one was, I forget the name. But I think people just kind of understood the gravity of what this tournament was kind of doing for some people in our community that might have been, somewhat underrepresented in the past. So that I think was really cool.
Is there anything that you feel like you would have changed about the way that you ran the tournament, or anything that you wish had gone differently?
I don't think too much. I mean, maybe more advertising, and to a degree. I was moving in with college, basically.
Oh, that's
that
right.
month,
That was that weekend, the first
prior.
weekend of September. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was first week of September. My first day of classes were like kind of near the end of August, so I was moving in kind of middle to the end of August. So it was really difficult trying to get everything together, especially since I'm a freshman here. So it's like, how do this, right? just getting everything situated and getting adjusted. So, probably to some degree, some more advertising. I wish I'd been able to post on Reddit, I think, a little bit earlier and such. It was just a bit difficult too, and everything. But overall, like, I'm pretty happy with it. Like, there are some things like the LAN setup with stream. That was kind of difficult, but we did get that set up. If only we had spectator mode for online games, that would be great. Really great. So just a couple of loose ends that were able to that slipped me by and kind of like setting up a little bit, but it wasn't anything major that I would really change about the tournament. Because something that I was potentially worried about was someone, I don't know why they would, but like, you know, there are always bad eggs. Someone pretending to like going under an Elias, or however you pronounce that word, in the tournament, and then, you know, doing really well or something, and they're like, hey, I'm a guy, see, or something of that sort, like just trying to mess up the tournament because they could or something. Because I never wanted any tournament to like have to verify that you're a woman or anything, because it's just like, that could be intrusive, that could be like, I didn't want that kind of, I guess, atmosphere of it. I was just like, this is very welcoming, and I wanted to welcome people.
Yeah, you didn't make people like show their driver's license or anything. Like, okay, prove it. Yeah, that would be,
Yeah, like we had like some seniors too.
Exactly.
So we had some people from Japan play, which is really cool. I actually had a couple of people from Japan play, and then we had a Japanese player's mom messaged me about the tournament too. And how she was excited to play, and because she was like a senior or a junior, I forget her name. She's like really top, like junior in Japan, and it was really cool. Like, she was so excited to play and just everything. So that was really cool to get that kind of experience from it. But yeah, I guess I could kind of go back to like the original question, like changing it. Not by much. I like to just get it out even more maybe next time or of some sort. But I really liked how it ran.
I think it's hard to argue that it was an overwhelmingly positive event.
Yeah.
So I think it was kind of a nitpicky question, but I totally agree with you that it ran incredibly smoothly, and then the numbers were awesome. Hearing that viewership makes me really happy too, because I was kind of wondering about that, and I think I saw it peak at a couple hundred viewers as well. But 3,000 unique is really awesome.
Yeah.
It was really, really cool.
Yeah.
We had, I think at some point, the max was like 700 on the Sunday. We think it might have been a bot raid because it was like 500, 700, 500, but who knows? But we technically did get there, so...
So to change gears on you a little bit, and this is kind of to shift back into sort of like a live circuit scenario. Why do you think it is? I think you said earlier on that that the women representation at tournaments is like 10%, and I'm actually surprised that it's that high, to be honest with you. So why do you think that female players are typically underrepresented at tournaments?
I think part of it has to do with kind of what I said before, where there's been a lot of not so great encounters that women have had with men, just in general, and then also at tournaments, because it is a male-dominated field of, or gaming field, I guess, and, well, I mean, gaming in general kind of is, and just a lot of women, you're really meant to, like, society doesn't seem to like to take women as seriously in video games as they do men. Because I know a lot of women who play video games because, you know, like playing video games, but a lot of them do it casually. So it seems like a lot of society kind of seems like, oh, women will play it casually of some sort, or there's a lot of potential stereotypes. And, well, I haven't personally really faced it, but I know that it can be kind of hard for some people. And for some women for sure, and I know that can be a very pronounced just stereotype kind of just placed in your face, and they're like, oh, I can't do that, or I'm not gonna do that because people are gonna hate me for playing it or something. Like I know there's been a lot of TCG stories. I know of, like, off the trading card game, that there have been women who are a man. Their opponent will ask, "Oh, you're your boyfriend" or something, and they're just not taken seriously, which is just not great. So, like, even just an encounter with that, if that's your first regional and someone says that to you, like, people probably won't want to play again, and so you don't have that woman who was excited to play, and now they're not as excited because someone kind of shot them down. Or someone was like, "Oh, why are you even playing? Like, you know, you're a new player," or something like that. And then there's also the potential, like, because it can be intimidating when there's an entire, like, convention center full of men, basically. Like, when there's not a lot of women, you can't really connect as well, if that's just not typically your community. So, hopefully, if there's more women who know that there are women going, then to be more I'm forgetting the word, more incentivized to go to events.
And that's one thing that I think, kind of circling back to, you know, the in-person effects of something like this online women's tournament, or like this ongoing Discord that you're keeping open. Like, the sad thing is it just takes like one bad event, one like backhanded comment, one, you know, just negative experience for someone to just like not want to come back. And I think women are much more susceptible to experiencing those, you know, kind of one-off comments or, you know, weird behaviors that would make them, you know, dissuaded from coming back, which is really sad. But I really like that concept of like, well, if I know that these women that I've talked to online and played this women's tournament with are going to be at these tournaments in person, maybe I'll go and hang out with them. We can feel safer together. Hopefully, obviously, in a perfect scenario, they wouldn't have to feel unsafe because the men wouldn't be causing them to feel unsafe. But that's a bit idealistic right now. That's something that obviously we can, as men, can be working towards. But in the meantime, I agree. I lost my train of thought there.
So, again, to change gears here, we did want to. I think we would be remiss in kind of the goals and mission of our podcast if we didn't talk a little bit about the Pokemon that happened at this tournament. You know, given the numbers of it and some of the cool teams, I know I was talking a lot to Aaron Trailer, who was like going crazy about some of the teams that he was playing that came out of the tournament. And I think we talked a little bit about it right before we started recording, Alyssa. But given that this is basically going to be the defining event of Series 6, from a Pokemon perspective, what did we see come out of the tournament here?
We for sure saw Arcanine, Primarina, and Amoonguss were our top 3 for our usage stats. I found out it was a lot of this kind of hyper offensive Pokemon. We saw there's a lot of Porygon Z, a lot of Lapras as well. Let me pull up the top teams real quick. Sorry. But we did have Fiona with her Duraludon team, I believe, which was really, really cool. And then we had Daria's double team.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Also
really
the double
cool.
team.
Yeah, I've been playing with the double a bit on ladder, and it's been really, really cool because it doesn't have any speed control except for the double. Like at all. Like the Dusclops doesn't even have
Does it
have,
have,
on it.
Is it Cotton Spore? Is that
the double is Max Strike.
Oh,
Dynamax.
that's the speed control. I was like, oh, Cotton Spore?
Only thing that can come out of that.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. There were... It was definitely a really cool team, but it was a really consistent team. I've been playing with it on ladder, and I'm, like, basically Master Ball. Like, I haven't played a lot of ladder, so I have to go through a couple of ranks, but it was a really cool team. There's been a lot of Urshifu. We saw the number 2 team was Azumarill, Hydreigon, Sylveon, Talonflame, Draken, and Clefairy. Kind of looks almost like 2015 team. I remember I played Sylveon, Hydreigon, and Talonflame back in, like, oh gosh, 2015 Madison. that was a great
the
team.
whole, like, seriously reminds me of, like, 2014 as a format.
It does feel
they feel
way a
very
bit.
similar.
Yeah,
Any metagame with Talonflame in it reminds me of 2014.
Yeah, this is a lot of Talonflame with Moongus. There were not a lot of like Kabayans. Because those are like there's sub-legends, right? That's the technical term for them. They're like the only three, like Kabayan, Trakian, and Frisian are like the three sub-legends, but they're not as widely used as like Arcanine or Moongus. Like they're not like hyper powerful. Though I do love using beat up on my Kabayan that I have. For sure.
Yeah, those beat up strats are cool.
Yeah, there's been a lot of... Yeah, they are. I've had a lot of grass types. A lot of strong grass types came out of this tournament. We had a Serena. You had a Moongus. And Ferrothorn as well, for sure.
Yeah, and that huge monkey-shaped...
Delmice.
That huge monkey-shaped hole that was left from the transition from Series 5 to Series 6.
Yes. We did see a lot of Durant, which was kind of cool. I don't love facing the ant, so there's only a couple in top cut.
Yeah, I did think that was kind of surprising. I think that Durant is something that a lot of people had pegged to be really good in Series 6, but I'm looking at the top 16 stats that you posted on your Twitter. Like, Durant's not even on there. And I think there's just one in Top Cut, if I'm not mistaken. Or one in Top 8, at least. No, there's two. Never mind.
Yeah, we think we had Diana played Durant. Diana played Durant. Tanya played Durant. And
I think Megan and Diana had the same team, right?
I'm missing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Megan, yeah. So there are a couple. And there's only like one Charizard, I think. Like there was not a lot of Charizard.
That was one of the things I was most surprised about.
Yeah, I think I see one Charizard out of it with the Shiros, which is really cool. Like it's like this Charizard with Saw Ninetales. Like you'd think it's everywhere, but no, it's really not.
And do you think that given that this is
really cool,
given that this is like the big Series 6 tournament, whether or not it's going to have any implications for when we go back to Series 5 now?
Yeah, it's interesting for sure because of the Series 5 transition. It really did mess up the meta, and that kind of scares me a little bit. Because I don't really know what's happening, and I don't know if anyone else knows what's happening, really. Because, like, people are really kind of just mushing together Series 6 and Series 5 teams I've seen so far. There's a lot more, like, Lapras, there's a lot more Urshifu than there were at the end of Series 5. There's a lot more Dracozolt as well, I've noticed. There's people are using their Series 6 teams and are, like, throwing on, like, a Rillaboom or an Insane over, like, a couple of Pokemon. Because it's like, it makes it better, but my team's still awesome, so... Who knows?
Like the complete opposite of what we were expecting to happen as we went from 5 to 6, where people were like, "Oh, I'm going to use this team, except I have to sub Rillaboom out for Serena now," or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
I could kind of see Talonflame sticking around. I think it was starting to pick up a little bit towards the end of Series 5. I know a couple people that used it in the Players' Cup like qualifier, like the bracket part of it. So that's something I think could possibly stick around, but I don't know, there's a lot of stuff, like, I don't know if people will stay on the Arcanine train or if they'll go immediately back to Incineroar, but that's kind of a debate that everyone's been having all year so far, is, you know, is Arcanine worth using if Incineroar exists or not?
Yeah. Yeah, I like Fire Doggo, but I've been running Incin on my team so far. Fake Out is just so nice.
And do you feel like the tournament... I don't know, this is a hard thing to project, but do you feel like the results of the tournament were different than they would have been if it was like a mixed gender tournament?
I'm not entirely sure, because I think to a degree there's a lot of newer players, because, I mean, there's a lot of women who never really played before, so there's a lot more newer players. And so with newer players, you tend to have, like, more off-meta teams, to a degree. Like, I see a Klefki and a Liepard on a team here. We've top 4 had a Klefki and a Liepard. Like, that's really cool. We had a Hitmontop. We had a lot of, like, there's a Toxtricity, I saw, and, like, there's just some really cool Pokemon, in the usage stats. And, like, if it was a mixed tournament, you just have a higher ratio, I think, of more, what's the word? Experienced players as well, who tend to, like, run more consistent teams in terms of, like, it might be more, like, more Primarina, more Mingus, more Arcanine, more Dusclops, those Pokemon that just are consistent rather than running, like, what was Pokemon? Like, running than Klefki or something like that, which ended up making top 4.
I think now that you've said it out loud, that makes total sense. I had never really thought about it in those terms as much, but I think you're totally right. Okay, I think we made our way through anything. So before we kind of like move on and wrap up here, is there anybody that was involved in the tournament running, or anybody that you want to like give a shout out to or recognize real quick?
All right, I probably got a lot of them, so I hope I don't miss any. Shout out to Taryn and Stacy, kind of being like co-TOs, and Taryn was super helpful in running like the stream and everything like that. Stacy was too, definitely helping with like confirming like tournament setup and everything. And then we shout out to May, who helped run the stream. Really, they were wonderful, really great. Also with merchandise, pretty cool. For sure, we had my shout out to my stream mods. I have a list of my stream mods. I don't know if I'll get all of them. I had like 7 of them. Real quick. Shout out to Devin, Misora, Colton, Aaron, Stellar Kitty, and then Chip. Oh my gosh, I cannot pronounce this. Chip you at.
Are you talking about Megan?
Megan.
Is that Megan? That's Megan. Okay. I'm not that great with online sometimes, so I'm going off the Discord name. So, shout out to my awesome stream mods. You guys are wonderful. And then another shout out to Colton for helping us with the stream with the LAN setup. That was
yeah, that's hard.
I've heard that's always a pain.
He helped us with that. It was a pain for sure, but he helped us set it up because he's done it before. So that was super great. And then just a shout out to like just everyone who's been super supportive. It's been a really great time discussing with everyone and just getting just any support really, which really was really wonderful.
All right, I think it's time that we kind of flip the script here a little bit. When we have our guests on, we like to see if they have any questions for us. So, Alyssa, if you have any burning questions to ask me and Brendan, now is the time to fire away.
Yeah. I don't know if it's like a burning question, but I was like, I don't know. So I was like, all right, do you think there's life outside of Earth? Like, in space somewhere?
Did you read the article about Venus? Is that where this is coming from?
No.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Wait, what article?
There was like a New York Post article like yesterday that came out about how they found phosphine on Venus that implies that there's some sort of life on it. It was so interesting. I just like it came across my Twitter when I was at work, and I was like, dear Lord, I have so much to do, but there might be life on Venus, so I have to read this article right now. And it was talking about how like ever since like they discovered that Venus was like had intense pressure and was 800 degrees Fahrenheit or whatever, that they basically like stopped studying it, and then they just like found phosphine in Venus by accident. Just it's so crazy. So I don't know. I feel like as far as like life being in the universe, just given that like it's effectively infinite, that the chances of there not being life are incredibly small. So I'm gonna go with yes.
That's basically how I feel too. Like if the universe is infinite, then like statistically, probably. Like I'm not gonna rule anything out. I think we'll ever come into contact with like other intelligent beings?
Not in our lifetime.
Probably not. Yeah, but I think to think that there's nothing else out there in the vast nothingness of space would be a little irresponsible.
In the same sense, I like to think right now that there's an alternate universe where I'm recording this podcast, but also all of my paperwork is done.
Wouldn't that be nice?
All right, you have to answer the question too as well, Alyssa.
Oh, I do?
Yep, yeah, you do.
Well, I guess mine's pretty much similar to you, where you have, like, just the infinite possibility is, there's a high probability that, the idea of, like, of such randomness that there has to be something statistically in that. Kind of like how technically in Pi, because it's so infinite and random, that there's binary of every book.
Yeah.
In Pi.
Oh wow, yeah. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
Is a lot. Is what we're gonna take away from this.
Next episode we'll be talking about the concept of infinity.
Yes.
And its various applications. All right. My favorite little segment of every episode is the music segment, of course. This week I've been listening. That was a word. I've been listening to a lot of Clean Bandit again, which is fun. If you know the song Rather Be, that's theirs from like 2014, I think. But the album Rather Be was on is called New Eyes, and they have a more recent one called What Is Love that's really good. That recent album, What Is Love, has like a lot of really like high profile collabs, because like Clean Bandit mostly just produces the music and they don't do many vocals themselves, but like on that album they have features with Marina and the Diamonds, Demi Lovato, Ellie Goulding, Rita Ora, like Charlie XCX, like a lot of
it's a good album.
Zara Larsson too. Yeah, there's a lot of like really good singers on the album, so I love it.
The one with Zara Larsson is the best.
Symphony,
album, by the way. Yeah, best song on the album.
Yeah, debatable.
So what I was listening to this week is I was at the grocery store the other day, and that song Heaven by Bryan Adams came on. So I did a little bit of a dive back into like 90s love songs, and it really brought me back because I used to listen to Delilah a lot on the Variety radio station when I was younger. So I was really like back in like my 6th, 7th grade feels for the week. It was great.
Gosh, that song to be in my head all night now. Alyssa, do you have any music you'd like to share?
I got a couple of bands. Like I like pop music, so I like The Script a lot. One Republic and Coldplay. Those just really cool. Like I feel like they're really wholesome songs too. Like they're really nice to listen to.
There's never been like any controversy around anyone in any of those bands. I think wholesome's like a very good word to describe them, and I would never have thought of that myself.
Chris Martin was like an outspoken liberal figure like in the early 2000s before it was cool to be an outspoken liberal figure. So like I feel like there might have been a little of controversy there, but I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I listen to that stuff too. Those are good bands.
Coldplay got me through the hardest semester of my undergrad. I just played Milo Xyloto on replay.
I think everybody has a Coldplay story like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
All right, well, I think that's going to do it for us this week here. Alyssa, thanks again so much for coming on to talk with us about your tournament. I think it's just like so awesome that you guys were able to create such like an overwhelmingly positive event for the community and for a group that definitely needs it.
Yeah, it was definitely really great to run, and I'm very glad I was able to do it.
Awesome. All right. Well, Jake and I are going to take a break for just a few seconds, and we will be right back. So stay tuned. Welcome back. Hope you didn't miss us too much. We were only gone for a couple seconds. There was music. It's fine. Everything's fine. But we're back. Yeah, we're just going to wrap up this week's episode. Thanks for coming by for episode 24. We're happy to get to talk to Alyssa. We're happy to get another episode out in less than 6 weeks' time in between, which is kind of what we had defaulted to. And I think we'll get the opportunity to pump out a couple more episodes over the next couple weeks with Players' Cup coming back. So there will be a lot of Series 5 to cover. I'm sure there will be some like bonehead TPCI decision at some point as it pertains to Series 5 that we'll get to talk about. Cough Series 6 should be Players' Cup 2 cough. But yeah, thanks for coming by.
Yeah, be sure to check us out on social media as always. Alyssa's is @TemporalVGC. Follow her for any more updates on any women's tournament stuff that I'm sure she'll be tweeting about the Discord that she was mentioning, and also just to support a great person in the community, because that's what we do. We love supporting good people here on Soundproof. Mine is at MajorBowman_. Brendan's is MrBDog46VGC. Soundproof's is at SoundproofCast. Y'all know the drill by now. Follow us. Tell us what you want to hear. Tell us we're great. Don't tell us we suck if you think we suck. Just keep that to yourself. Because we have very fragile psyches, and that would destroy us.
Yeah, if you want to tell me that Jake sucks, or tell Jake that I suck, that's fine.
We'll hear it,
so that we know, and we can kind of work in, in a more gentle manner. But we can't handle it straight up. So anyway, we'll probably be back in a couple weeks. Thanks for coming by. We'll be back with episode 25, our quarter of 100th episode.
Quarter century.
I was gonna say quarter century episode, but I don't think it quite works like that. So don't laugh at me. It's late at night. All right, thanks for coming by. We'll be back soon. Thanks for listening, and again, check us out on our socials, and we'll see y'all around. Good luck in Players Cup.